Hi guys, welcome to the next video of solving the impossible. Today we have a pretty difficult question. This question is slightly old. It appeared in CSE 2018. This was question number 3 of series A paper. But this question has got a lot of lessons for us, and a similar type of questions can appear in the exam again. They have been appearing on and off across the years. So this year, in my research, I came across a way of thinking about this question, which until now I had categorized as ET fail. Elimination is failing here. It's an honorable mistake if you do the question. It's a very risky question. It's a question that should be left. TBLQ is to be left question. All these tags are mentioned in the ET research channel. So until now, this question was considered to be a question where elimination was failing. But in my the evolution of the course this year, the thought this year, we do have an approach in dealing with this particular question and similar other questions. I've got a few other questions also where the same thought process, where the same kind of trap UPSC has set, and these questions also are pretty difficult, although this one is the most difficult of the lot. So I do maintain that this question is still difficult. Ideally, you should not do these kind of questions in exam. These are questions which are going to throw you off balance. These are questions which are extremely random, and the kind of information that these questions are asking is very narrow and pretty deep. So solving these kind of questions under exam pressure is a great challenge. So the best thing to do in these kind of questions is to simply leave them alone. And the lesson that you should take from these questions is actually that these are questions which are to be left, and do not touch them. If you are not touching these questions, you will save yourself great amount of time in the exam. You will save yourself your confidence if you go wrong in this question, because these are questions which are made to gulp your time. It is like to swallow your time. They're going to take a lot of time to process, and even after that there's a very high chance of overthinking in these questions, and eventually you will in most likelihood end up marking the wrong option. So you will be losing marks, you'll be losing your patience in the exam, you'll be losing your confidence in the exam, and of course time is there, and then the spillover of the negative energy that you will accumulate in tackling these kind of questions is going to hamper your processing in the other subsequent questions as well. So all of this negativity, it's best to just avoid these kind of questions. Save yourself time, save your confidence, save your processing of the other questions. That's the best thing to do in these kind of questions. But if at all, okay, it's a big if you are in a situation that you need to attempt these kind of questions, or you are in a pretty comfortable position and you want to test your luck, you want to attempt these questions. So we do have a way of thought in these kind of questions this year. So let us read the question. It said, as per the NSSO 70th round situation assessment survey of agriculture households. So this question is about some survey of agriculture households. It's not even about, really about Indian agriculture per se, so which would be a topic which we study, which would be a topic which we read, but this is about just agriculture households. And very difficult that we would be coming across this kind of survey or reading it in detail enough that we would be able to mark these statements. It's a very difficult and a very random question from that angle. And just see the kind of information asked in the statements. The first statement read, Rajasthan has the highest percentage share of agriculture households among its rural households. So out of the total rural households that Rajasthan has, out of the total rural households of all states in India, Rajasthan has the highest percentage of agriculture households. Right, so the total rural households can have different occupations. So the households which have agriculture as its occupation, Rajasthan is the state which has got maximum such households amongst its rural households compared to all other states of India. Extremely difficult statement, right? Even the processing of the statement is quite challenging. So a very difficult statement. We won't be able to tell the statement true or false, right? I'm just, of course, HTBC is there, but we're going to just look at the difficulty of the statements first, and then we are going to think about how to approach these statements. The second statement says, out of the total agricultural households in the country. So it is talking about the total agricultural households in the country. That basically means the total agricultural populace in the country. A little over 60%, just note the language here, a little over 60% belong to OBCs, right? So this also we don't really study. Yes, OBCs we have heard of, SC/STs we have heard of, but the percentage share, certainly it's not something that we prepare very consciously. If you have heard it somewhere, if you have just out of that flash of memory that strikes you if you read the statement, that's a different matter, but consciously it's extremely difficult to prepare, even for senior players, even for players who have given many attempts, let alone for somebody who is in her first attempt, right? So very difficult statement, the second statement. The third statement reads, in Kerala, a little over 60%, just note the language, a little over 60%, the third statement, and in second statement, a little over 60%, exact same way, exact same style of writing, and even the percentage figure they've given verbatim, exact, right? So it says, in Kerala, a little over 60% of agriculture households reported to have received maximum income from sources other than agriculture activities. So this particular statement is saying this much agriculture households have earned maximum income from sources other than agriculture. It's again a very difficult statement to do via knowledge, very difficult to prepare. So, and if you look at the options 2 and 3, 2 only, 1 and 3, 1, 2 and 3, right? Now, ideally, as I told you, because of this difficulty, it's best to just leave this question. If you attempt it and if you go wrong, still it is an honorable mistake because this is a very difficult question. But the worst cost of this question is going to be your confidence, your patience, your mood in the exam, right? This was just the question number 3 in Series A paper. Just imagine the psyche of the student who is doing the question from the first question and is coming across this question and has actually done this question in the first 5 to 10 minutes of the exam, right? Very, very important that you maintain your cool, you maintain your composure in the exam. So avoid these kind of questions. That's the best message actually. Now, assuming that you want to do the question, right? How to think about in these questions? See, the first thing is that you must always choose the easiest statements in the given set of statements. And I'm hoping that you will agree that the third statement in this case is the easiest, because this is what we generally hear of. We have heard that Kerala sends a lot of migrants to Gulf region, right? Gulf countries. So over 60% of agriculture households have got maximum income from sources other than agriculture. So it's not saying remission, but remission is an important aspect in Kerala's economy. That is point number 1. It could be tourism also, right? Rural tourism, agro tourism, like that kind of stuff. So not really agriculture income, but then other than agriculture income. So there is a pretty strong chance that the third statement is true. Although, now this is the gamble, right? Now this comes with experience. When you do these questions multiple times and you just feel the vibe of the question across different years, across different traps, across different questions, you get to get that understanding that UPSC will not quiz you here about the 60% figure. It's going to go after what is generally preparable, the broader picture, which I just discussed, the remissions part and the tourism part, etc. So a little over 60%, the figure is not important, but the idea is suggesting that the third statement has got a very high chance of being true. Okay, a very high chance of being true. Now, if you come to the options, you will see that the third statement is mentioned in 3 out of 4 options: Alpha Bravo, Alpha Charlie, and Delta A, C, and D. Just note, UPSC, even in this difficult question and even in the third statement where it took us some bit of effort to think and to conclude that okay, it has got a fairly high chance of being correct, even then UPSC is just giving us the benefit of one option. I'm saying only one option got eliminated because of this, and which was option B, option Bravo. It didn't even give us two options. Generally, with this much effort, UPSC tends to give us two options, like it will eliminate two options, right? But here only one option. That means what we thought was actually simple enough that UPSC feels just one option will be given as a reward in this much effort, right? Certainly. Now just see, if the third statement is wrong, then you would directly have arrived at the answer, which is Bravo, which is 2 only. Now this has got two problems. One, the UPSC certainly is not going to frame such a diggaj kind of question, such a difficult kind of question, and then like it went up like a rocket and fell like a stick. This would be the case here. Such an anticlimactic thing it would be if UPSC is just dropping this question in our jholi, in our hands, by simply, if we think that Kerala would get this, like whatever we thought, the third statement is false in that case, right? If had it been false, then just get the reward of the whole question, and this is simple enough. This is unlikely. What is more likely is that the third statement is true, because the effort that we had put, and in more number of options it is mentioning the statement 3. So it is fairly simple, fairly thinkable, fairly doable even for the beginner student. That is why, and the third statement is given in more number of options. So the context here is suggesting that the third statement is probably true. It has got a greater chance of being true than being false. That is point number 1. The reason number 2 why the third statement should not be false is because when such a difficult question has been framed, just one statement, if just one statement is the answer, there is no fun in it, right? All statements will not be the answer, because even the most unprepared student is going to mark all, if at all that student approaches or does this question. Even the most unprepared student is going to mark all. Or the other extreme would be, the student would think, the unprepared student would think that numbers are given, right? The chapri kind of YouTube tricks, the approaches which don't have a logic behind them. They will just say, okay, number is there, 60, cancel it. Another number, 60, cancel it. The first statement only has got no number. So if they are doing it via this way, still the answer is not possible, because the Bravo option is saying 2 only and not 1 only. Actually, you should UPSC should have done it this way. Instead of 2 only, it should have given 1 only. Then also it would be more trappy, it would be more difficult, and more number of students would be falling in that trap of number being wrong, right? But overall, if you just see the vibe of the question, it is such a difficult question, such difficult processing. Just one statement should ideally not be the answer. All the statements should ideally not be the answer. Even none, had this been in the new format and none were an option, none also will not be the answer, because that would have taken a lot of information. To mark none, to mark that something is wrong, you need more information than to say something is correct, right? The HTBC has to be correct technique, and the like whatever we have discussed in the your training session. The training session for multi-statement questions is free. Actually, it will be given in the description of this video, but I'm assuming that you have already watched it and then you're coming to this video. It's not really for the beginners, this particular video. So yes, right, extremely unlikely that Bravo, just one statement, and Delta, all the statements, or even none, is the answer. So answer most likely is between Alpha and Charlie. It's most likely between Alpha and Charlie. Now UPSC is forcing us to think which of these is true, whether the second is true or the first statement is true. Now let us read the statements once again. The first statement, what is the difference between the second and the first statement? The second statement is giving you a number which is much more concrete, much more specific than the first statement, which is not talking in number terms, but it is talking as statement of fact, right? It's just stating the fact without using any kind of concrete number. So that is one thing which is going in favor of the first statement, because here there is no number, there is no concreteness. And we have seen that when these kind of statements are there, this is typical HTBC framing, because what the first statement is saying should be true, because there should be some state whose where agriculture households will form the largest share of their rural households compared to other states. There should be some state in India. It may be Rajasthan, it may be Madhya Pradesh, it may be Uttar Pradesh, it may be Manipur, any state, right? Most likely it would be amongst the Bimaru states, so to say. That acronym, if you know of it, Bimaru will mean Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, right? So very highly likely that the first statement is true. Now we are doing it via HTBC, has to be correct, because there is no way we would be able to prepare this information consciously. So had it given Madhya Pradesh instead of Rajasthan, still we would have said that it's a true statement. Had it given Uttar Pradesh, still we would have said it's a true statement, because there's no way we can prepare it, right? And that is the whole philosophy of HTBC, that when something is unpreparable and if it is given in official formal terms, formal language, right, it has got that aura of formality. So these statements are true because there is no fun in giving something as wrong which you do not know, right? Only what you can prepare, that you should give as wrong, or that you should test via knowledge. But statements like these, very formal, very official and completely unpreparable, very black and white kind of statements, are generally true. That is what the HTBC technique is. So the first statement is very likely to be true because of HTBC. Now only you have to choose whether the first is correct or the second one is correct. So most likely Charlie is the answer here, that the third statement is correct. That is one way of solving this question. The other way of solving this question is via the technique where I told that when one information is mentioned in more than one statement, if it is a multi-statement question and if the same kind of information or the same theme is mentioned in more than one statement, then it's a very high chance that one statement is true and the other statement is false. So just look at the way the number 60 is written, a little over 60%. Second, in the third statement it says a little over 60%, right? So I don't think it is just a coincidence that UPSC has written it this way. I think it has got this very strong connection with the one true, one false approach that we have seen across these kind of traps. Now, yes, it is a much more mechanical way of writing. It's not exactly like those more conceptual and more processing, more organic way where same information was written in different words in different statements and one is true, another is false. But here certainly it is more mechanical, but I am seeing that this kind of trap has been set by UPSC in multiple other questions across the years, and that is where I'm saying that a little over 60% in the second statement and in the third statement will count, should count as the same information getting repeated in more than one statement. So one statement is true, another statement is false, right? So here we have already seen that the third statement is true. So this 60% is true. That means this 60% should be false, right? One thing to take care of in this approach, one true, one false, is that do not use it unless you have used all the other more organic, more processable techniques, right? Techniques have got this hierarchy. The first one should be related, not related, would have heard, names of meaning, like all those techniques. Then come HTBC, defact, reverse defact, and then all of these more hack-like techniques, right? So if you are not, doing it via this segregation, via this hierarchy, and if you directly jump, okay, 60%, one true, one false, there's a very high chance that you will go wrong in the exam, right? You should be using more advanced techniques, more niche techniques, only when you are in that situation. So just progress gradually. Don't use these techniques, higher order techniques directly, higher order techniques first before you use the lower order, more simpler, more organic techniques. Okay, please maintain this hierarchy. It's extremely important. Otherwise your accuracy can go for a 6. Okay, it will be low. You can get hit in the exam. So that's what I feel in this question. Let me show you this more mechanical repetition that is there. I've got a few more questions here. This Goa term is there and in the ground term, right? So if we just click this Goa question, this was asked in 2021. Look at the second and the third statements, okay? Goa, he died in Goa, right? Goa is mentioned here, and Feast of St. Francis Xavier is celebrated, again Goa, right? Now if you look at the tags associated with this question, it doesn't have risky, it doesn't have ET fail, because there is another way, more organic, more approachable way of doing this question. Other things are there to process, but still I just wanted to show you this mechanical repetition, right? So in that question, the NSSO question, we had a little over 60% in 2 statements. Here we have Goa in 2 statements, and I don't think UPSC doesn't have an intent behind it. I feel UPSC is doing it purposely. Goa is mentioned in the second and the third statement. So one is true, another is false. You can see the answer, right? Charlie is the answer. So the third statement here is true and the second statement is not true as per Charlie, right? NSSO, the answer is Charlie, 1 and 3. So 3 is true, this 60%, the second statement is false, right? Another question that we have was the recent year question only, question number 17 of series A 2023 paper. This was the Indian squirrels question. Just look at the first and the second statements. In the ground, in the ground. Now again, if you notice the ET tags of this question, it doesn't say ET fail, although this is certainly a risky question because it's a newer variety question where it is mixing conceptual statements with this kind of mechanical traps. So it's a hybrid, it's a new kind of question, so I've tagged it as risky. But certainly if you can maintain your cool in the exam, if you can just observe the question, read it carefully and process the statements. I'm not just depending on in the ground. These are just secondary approaches that you should be actually using when everything else is not giving you the answer, or if you have got an answer, then just to corroborate that these kind of things, these are repeating, so 1 true 1 false has got a very high chance. It's just to corroborate what answer you've got through the other techniques. So again, you can see like this question can be done via other techniques, other ways, more simpler, more processable ways, but I just want to show you this mechanical repetition, same kind of wordings in 2 statements. So 1 true 1 false, right? In the ground, and you can see the answer is bravo, only 2 statements are true. And what is that? That will be the third statement, right? Omnivorous. This is HTBC, and amongst the first and the second, the first statement is true because they build nest. The second statement will be true. The first will be false because building of nests is an observable behavior. If you approach a squirrel, it will climb a tree and will not go into a burrow, right? So very likely that they make nests in the tree and not in burrows because that is their default observable behavior. So that is what is making actually the first statement false. So in the ground doesn't really, we are not going it via that more mechanical approach, but I'm just telling you that this is the case, and that is one way of looking at it. So I just want to bring this to your consciousness when you're practicing to just see if this thing works in other questions as well. If it doesn't work, please send that screenshot of the question where it is not working in the free elimination group in Telegram. So you can see in the ground, the first statement is false and this statement in the ground is true, right? This is HTBC, this is non-observable behavior, the second one. So that's why best answer is bravo, only 2 statements, right guys? So that is that's the lessons that I wanted to share in this video. I hope you enjoyed this video. Do let me know what you think about the approach discussed in this video. Also, it goes without saying that the videos that I'm making in the Solving the Impossible, it is assuming that you have watched the free training session for multi-statement questions, and then you have practiced, and then you are watching these videos. Just if you are watching it directly as a newcomer, these videos may not be comprehensible. And just one more thing, that it has been a tendency of some students that they'll just be typing anything in the comments. Please be respectful. Please ensure that decorum is maintained and you behave gentlemanly in the comments. If there is anything else I can help you with, if there is any objection that you have with this approach, please do share, but ensure that you are first practicing and then only sharing your objections, because without practice, if you just object to everything, things are not going to make much sense and much progress, right? So I also have a very tight schedule, so I won't be able to just explain everything if you have not practiced. But if you have practiced and if you are then objecting, then certainly we can look into the problems, and maybe there might be some issues, then only through your objections those issues are highlighted. We think about it, and that's how we grow, right? That's how the elimination thought evolves. So that will be all from my side in this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Do let me know what you feel about it, and we'll meet very soon in the next one. Thank you. Good night. Bye bye.